Hi, and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This is the webinar and community update series hosted by Mayor Karen Bass, LA Strong, Return and Rebuild. As you all know, Mayor Bass has been hosting these community briefings on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m., providing critical updates around Palisades rebuild and recovery. Tonight, we will provide updates on debris removal, as well as newly opened impacted worker centers, family recovery centers, and you'll hear all about them in just a few minutes. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. For everybody that's joining us today, again, thank you so much for your time this evening. We do want to make sure that everyone knows we have interpretation available, multiple forms of interpretation, because we want to make sure that all of this information is inclusive and welcoming as possible to as many constituents as possible. In regards to sign language and Spanish interpretation or translation, we do have that available to you. In order to access that, you click on the globe at the bottom of your screen that says interpretation. Then you can click either American Sign Language or Spanish. Now I'll ask one of our team members, Michelle, to provide that instruction in Spanish.
Para escuchar esta reunión en español, vaya a la parte inferior de su pantalla y haga clic en el botón de interpretación con el símbolo de un globo. Seleccione español y desactive el audio original.
Thank you very much.
Let me just add that you might not see a globe on the bottom of your screen. You might see more and a circle. Click that and then you'll see the globe.
Thank you so much, Mayor Bass. Michelle, could you provide that instruction as well?
Si mira la parte inferior de su pantalla, va a haber un círculo con 3 puntos y lo presiona y después de ahí selecciona el globo para interpretación en español.
Thank you very much. We also have closed captioning available. In order to access the closed captioning, you can look into the chat and there's a link. Click on that link. You may encounter a brief delay, but the closed captioning will begin shortly after that delay, and you may need to refresh your page. But click on the link that's in the chat, and you will be able to see those closed captioning, text. Next slide. Like we said earlier, today we'll hear remarks from Mayor Karen Bass. Then we'll hear a debris removal update from Army Corps of Engineers Colonel Swenson, followed by an in-depth presentation on assistance for workers and families impacted by the LA fires and new centers that we're opening today. With that, I'll introduce our mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Mayor Karen Bass.
Hello, everyone. I hope that people got some rest and a little bit of relief over the 3-day holiday. And I want to share with you that I just came back from the Palisades, visiting a home that has actually finished phase 1 and phase 2. It was amazing to think about that, considering that phase 1 was supposed to take months. And here we have phase 1 and 2 finished. And I know that there's some homes in the Altadena area that have finished phase 2 as well. It's still, of course, sad to go there because I know that a family lived there and if this was a family's hopes and dreams and history and all of that. But it was hopeful in the sense that now that it is cleared, maybe that family can move into phase 3 and come over to the One-Stop Rebuild Center. I hope that you have an opportunity to go there, that even if you haven't finished phase 1 and phase 2, you can still move forward with the building process and get your permits and get all of the information that you need. We have 12 city offices in that one location. But I learned something else over this weekend that I wanted to share with you. And already in the queue, I saw someone who said they're worried about how long it's going to take for the Army Corps to get there, and they're thinking of doing the debris removal themselves. Obviously, this is an individual decision, but I sure would suggest that you think about it very carefully. I know the colonel will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if you opt out, you can't change your mind after that. And I will just tell you, that if you do this on your own, beware. I know members of my staff spent 3 days over the weekend helping people who chose to opt out. There are a lot of problems associated with that, such as when they remove the debris, where are they going to put it? And they ran into problems figuring out where they were going to put it. Whereas you see what the Army Corps of Engineers does, and you don't have to pay for it, or or you deal with it through your insurance, then you are assured that you are not going to have to worry about what happens to that debris afterwards. So I know it's tough to be patient, and obviously it's an individual decision, but I want you to think long and hard about it, because it's a decision that you're not going to be able to turn back, and you might really want to reconsider that. Well, today was also a hopeful day because we opened up the Impacted Worker and Family Center. And we announced to you last week that if you knew people who either worked in your home, on your property, or if you knew people that worked in the commercial areas that were impacted, they can go to these one-stop centers. And I know that there's going to be a slide about it later, but let me just tell you that we have 4 centers, one in West LA, Northeast San Fernando Valley, Boyle Heights, West Adams, and Leimert Park. And you can get info from lacity.gov. The centers were very impressive. It's a one-stop also, but it's a one-stop with city departments, county, the state, and also nonprofit organizations. The Department of Aging is there, the County Department of Economic Opportunity. The Mayor's Fund is there with their online disaster relief navigation tool, but people can get help on the spot. So for example, there's applications for the LA Region Small Business and Worker Relief Fund. $2,000 per worker is available. This is not going to last very long. It was supposed to expire next week, but I think it's been extended for another week or so. $2,000 per person. Job placement assistance and job training, including jobs involving debris removal, emergency shelter and housing support, tax preparation, and access to the Earned Income Tax Credit. I'll tell you something, Earned Income Tax Credit is not new. It doesn't just apply to people that were impacted. It's a program that at a certain income level, everybody everybody can apply. But it's one of these programs that's really underutilized. And you can get as much as $10,000 back in Earned Income Tax Credit program. And there's people there that will help you fill out the application. So emergency shelter and housing support, and access to 600 hours of temporary employment at $25 to $20 an hour. What I have found over time is that often people do not realize that they qualify for a number of different types of public benefits. So that's the point of the Impacted Worker and Family Support Centers. People that worked for you in your home, on your property, or in the commercial area. And they don't have to live in the city of Los Angeles. They can live wherever they live, and they were impacted by the fires, then they are welcome to go there. So this is all part of our comprehensive recovery, response and recovery strategy. We started with the Disaster Assistance Center, and we've gotten rave reviews. People have said that's actually really, really helpful. We've seen over 7,000 people there. Last week, we opened the one-stop center that I referred to, where you can begin phase 3, which is the rebuilding process. And now this is a center, another one-stop center, combining city and county and state resources all together for people who were impacted economically by the fires. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Jenny Delwood. It was good to be with you tonight. You will see me again on Thursday, and we will stick to this until Palisades residents return home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Bass. Now we'll hear a brief update about debris removal from Colonel Eric Swinson of the Army Corps of Engineers.
Well, good evening, residents of the city of Los Angeles. It's an honor to be on today. And I really appreciate Mayor Bass, you coming out to our site today and providing some kind words. I think it's wonderful to see the progress as you have highlighted. You know, it's been 41 days since the fire started, and we are rapidly building capacity to clear this fire ash and debris from parcels around the impacted area. So today in sort of the Palisades fire impacted area alone, we had 7 crews out doing active debris removal on 7 different lots. We had 5 crews working asbestos. We had 40 crews doing hazard site assessments, which is some of the prep step we need to get to doing debris removal. We are in lockstep with the county and the city on getting rights of entry to continue this mission, and we are, as I said, actively ramping up so we can get that fire ash and debris safely from an uncontrolled environment to a controlled environment, and leave your property in a better state so you can rebuild. Obviously, safety is paramount to everything we do, whether it's the wet method to keep dust downs, whether it's limiting our speed of our vehicles to ensure the public safety and the safety of our own employees. We are doing this in a way that protects our employees, the public, and the environment. If you can go to the next slide. I just wanted to give you a quick update. We're going to start using the Temesco Canyon Road. This has been coordinated with the city and all the local agencies that had a hand in this. And what this is going to allow us to do, we're going to use it as a staging area. This is going to allow us to be more efficient in our operations so we can get the fire ash and debris removed and get it consolidated, the recyclables and the concrete sort of consolidated and then hauled out in a controlled manner, and try to keep large vehicles off the roads during high use times. It's going to reduce the debris removal timeline. So we're going to be able to get this operation done faster, which I know is top of everyone's mind right now. And because we're going to be doing some short hauls with that concrete and recyclables, it's going to lower our fossil fuel emissions. We're going to keep trucks on the road, less on the long haul road for a shorter period of time, and make our operations more efficient. So just the long haul trucks will bring the big loads in the evening, which will really help the community. And it's going to decrease, as I said, daytime truck operations. So all of this is beneficial to the community. And I just wanted to say we are in lockstep with LA City and all the other agencies that are out on the roads so that we minimize this. We're only going to do this until as long as we absolutely have to. And as soon as we're able to pare down our operations and basically give this piece of this road back, we will do so. We will leave it in better condition than we found it. We're going to use water suppression as we do on each parcel. We're going to use water suppression on this area to ensure that any dust created by our activities is absolutely minimized. We're also going to be mindful of the noise of our operations and its contribution to noise pollution, and try to minimize that as well. And then I said we're working with engineers from LA County, Public Works, the Corps of Engineers, LA City, Department of Public Works, and other agencies to ensure that our traffic flow through this area is safe and efficient. And all along this, we'll be messaging what we're actually doing and keeping the community fully engaged. You can go to the next slide. Also, I'm happy to announce yesterday we relaunched our Corps of Engineers public viewer. This is a website that allows you to go in. We're going to show you how we get to it in a second, but allows you to go in and see the status. So let me just explain this. We think there's around 13,500 eligible properties. We'll refine that as we go and we get the damage assessments in. We've currently received what's in the yellow there. This was a snapshot from earlier in the day, which shows how many ROEs we received from the county and how many we've given to our contractor to work on. And you can use that little search arrow, the little magnifying glass there. You can click on that magnifying glass. You can type in your property address. It'll find your address in this database, and you can click on it and get some basic information about your property, whether we have your right of entry, whether phase 1 has been complete by the EPA or whether it's been deferred, et cetera. And in the coming weeks and months, you'll start seeing the numbers on the right-hand side tick up as we get final sign off and we return that right of entry back to the county and ultimately back to the landowner. If you can go to the next slide. Okay. That's my last slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Swenson. We do have a couple of questions that I'm just going to take now, since you just wrapped up your presentation. If we could go ahead and put the slides down for now. We'll have a couple questions for Colonel Swenson, and then we'll go into our presentation on the impacted worker centers, as well as the family recovery services available at these centers. So we did have a question from Maria Cox Dreyer. She's asking, why is there a delay between the county processing the ROE, that there's only 434 ROEs released so far from the county? Is there something that can be done to speed up the process? I know, Colonel Swenson, you are not with LA County, but I think you have a good enough sense of what the process is and what some of those procedures and processes are that they're doing and doing the due diligence. Could you provide an update
Yes.
on that and provide some insight?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I get this question a lot. So the challenge is that we had a lot of people sign up, and in order for the county to pass on that right of entry to us, the county has to verify that the person who signed up for the ROE is indeed the rightful owner of that. There's a bunch of sort of behind the curtain stuff that has to get done to verify that the assessor's parcel number that's found on the deed is the same assessor's parcel number that's found on the right of entry form, and that owner is indeed the rightful owner, and that there's not multiple owners that may be needed to be for that parcel that we need to get approval for. So all that process gets worked out. And also we had some people who submitted multiple rights of entry. And so trying to figure out, make sure we have the right of entry, the parcel, we match that up, county gets that, verifies that, and sends it to us. This is very common in the beginning of a fire response. And this process is building momentum. The county has all the resources it needs. We just need to wait a couple more days, and you're going to see those numbers increase. Once I get the right of entry, then I do one final kind of quality assurance check to make sure that it's good, and then I pass it off to my contractor. And why is all this important? All this important is because it's your personal property, and we're the federal government, and we can't come on and take, even though it's fire damage, we can't take private property from your residence without the owner's expressed permission. And we don't want to get that. We don't want to get that wrong and violate your individual rights. Over.
Thank you very much, Colonel Swenson. We'll take one more question and then we'll move on with our presentation and then come back to you for more questions at the end. One more question for you is from Anita Fay. Will the finished with phase 2 homes be labeled on the story map? Currently, there aren't any yet, or there is one or two, but not necessarily updated on the story map yet. It doesn't seem like there's a legend. So could you let us know when we'll start seeing phase 2 complete in the story map?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you will start seeing phase 2 complete in the story map. It takes a little bit of time. Every parcel, when we complete, there's a final sort of report that's done. So if you drove by your parcel, it may look perfectly clean and ready to rebuild, but there's some paperwork on the back end that we have to do, and we have to do it for every single parcel. It's what goes back to not only FEMA, but it goes back to the county as our record of saying we did it. I don't want to make it sound like it's not important. It's very important that we do it. It also helps the county understand what we did on your property. But once that paperwork is returned, then we do a final sign off. We return the right of entry back to the county, ultimately back to the city and back to the owner. And then that really is the sort of the final step before you're able to enter the phase 3, as the mayor called it, which is the rebuilding phase. But I would say don't wait on the rebuilding phase. You can start that process now, doing all the paperwork and planning so you're ready for that great day when you are the one that is final sign off complete.
Thank you, Colonel Swenson. We appreciate the new dashboard. We look forward to continuing to follow along with it for all those complete phase 2 updates. All right, we're going to move on now to our presentation from a variety of our city and county departments presenting on our assistance for workers and families impacted by the LA fires. As Mayor Bash shared, we are excited to announce the opening of the 4 LA City centers specifically designed to support impacted workers and family recovery. We have 4 centers that are open now. First in West Los Angeles, Northeast San Fernando Valley, specifically in Sylmar, in West Adams or Leimert Park, and also another in Boyle Heights. Please see all of the addresses here, as well as the hotline number that you can dial. You'll hear more about the type of support you can receive via the hotline, but you can call us anytime at 213-584-1804. That's 213-584-1804. These centers are all open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And we're now going to provide an overview of the various services that are provided at the center. Of course, before we do that, we want a quick note on why this matters. Of course, we know that 4,000 people were displaced from the Pacific Palisades fire alone as it relates to workforce. People that had jobs, a variety of different types of jobs, both in households as well as at businesses in the Palisades. And we want to make sure that every single one of those 4,000 plus individuals and their families have a place to go to get support, whether that's financial assistance or cash assistance, rental assistance, help finding a new job, or a variety of other social services. We are here for you, and that's why these centers are opening and are going to continue to be in existence to provide you with those supports. If you're a homeowner that had a number of workers, or you frequented businesses such as restaurants, bookstores, or other types of shopping centers, grocery stores, etc., and you interact with individuals who may have lost their jobs due to the fire, please send them to these centers. We hope that you'll take from the chat today, just send the link with all the information. We'll be putting that information in the chat to the workers that you interact with on a daily basis. We really appreciate you spreading the word. With that, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, and if we can go to the next slide, the General Manager of the city's Economic and Workforce Development Department, Carolyn Hull.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As Carolyn Hull. The resources at the recovery centers are designed to support all those impacted by the fires to expeditiously recover and rebuild. Workers and businesses can come to the recovery centers to get support applying for the LA Region Small Business and Worker Relief Fund. The fund will provide grants to eligible displaced workers, small businesses, and nonprofits. You'll hear more about this grant opportunity later in the presentation from our county partners. I also want to talk about that dislocated workers can utilize the recovery centers to gain access to the Disaster Unemployment Assistance Program through the California Employment Development Department. We want to make sure that Angelenos are aware of the assistance from the state of California that they can receive for a maximum of 26 weeks after the federal government has declared a state of emergency. It is anticipated that access to this resource will end on March 10th. The recovery centers will offer impacted workers critical services that support their job searches, job training, and placements. Support services can be so critical to gaining and maintaining employment. So impact workers can also access services such as funding for temporary housing, clothing, tools, transportation, union registration, and childcare. I can't emphasize enough the opportunities that are there if you come in and talk to those that are at the recovery center to talk about accessing these services. The fires have disrupted employment for so many individuals. In an effort to ameliorate this impact, the city has secured funding to provide temporary employment to dislocated workers. The employment can be accessed to between $25 and $27 per hour for up to 600 hours. And many of these jobs are associated with cleanup. And it will also cleanup within the fire zones. And that allows individuals to kind of go back and really kind of be part of that rebuilding of their communities. Next slide. Impacted businesses will also have access to services at the recovery center, which will leverage 10 business source centers citywide to support small businesses with assistance with business permits, with financial advice for recovery, one-on-one credit and debt counseling, assistance with completing grant and loan applications, including the LA Regional Small Business and Worker Relief Fund that you will also be able to access for businesses as well. As I indicated before, you'll be hearing more about this resource later on. In conclusion, all services at the Recovery Center are bilingual, and all individuals at the Recovery Centers are welcome, and we want to create a safe space for you to get the resources that you need. Thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. Up next, we'll provide an overview of family services available at the center. General Manager Abigail Marquez of Community Investment and Families Department.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Mayor Bass, for bringing us together to highlight the available services at our impacted worker and family recovery centers. These services are critical for the thousands of workers and their families who are now facing financial hardship due to the devastation caused by the wildfires. Our department, the Community Investment for Families Department, oversees the Family Source System, which is the city's largest social service delivery system. We know that impacted workers are part of families, they're members of families, and so we are bringing a one-stop hub for the recovery of our city's workers and their families. These services include financial assistance and emergency services to help impacted workers cover immediate expenses such as transportation, rental arrears, housing, emergency housing or housing relocation assistance, and or to pay for their utility bills. This financial assistance is limited and temporary, but is available in addition to the Impacted Worker Relief Fund that was mentioned in the previous slide and that we will go over momentarily. Our staff will also help individuals interested in applying for cash assistance programs offered by other government agencies, such as the CalFresh and CalWork programs and other forms of disaster relief aid. We will help impacted workers navigate the complex applications to ensure timely access to support. And I do want to mention that currently our colleagues at our the Department of Public Social Services has a Disaster CalFresh program that will close tomorrow. This program will provide temporary food assistance to eligible individuals and households who live or have worked in the impacted fire areas or who have lost food due to the power outages. For this program, and only for this program, the Disaster CalFresh program, you must apply either in person at one of the LA County Department of Public Social Service offices or by calling 866-488-8482. And separately, our recovery centers will also partner with local food banks and other programs and will ensure essential workers and their families have immediate access to healthy and quality food. We're also trained to help people file their tax returns and help maximize any available refunds or credits that could provide crucial financial relief. Up to $10,000 is available this year through the federal and state earned income tax credit and child tax credits. And we learned that tax credits are often used as documentation of income for applying for recovery programs, such as housing assistance, unemployment benefits, FEMA assistance, or Small Business Administration disaster loans. And I want to end by saying and reiterating that our services are free across all of our recovery centers, and they are open to any impacted worker who calls Los Angeles home, regardless of their immigration status. We can also refer interested Angelenos to immigration services and connect them to our network of trusted legal experts. This concludes my section of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abigail. Really helpful information. Next up, we have our county partners, Director Kelly Lobianco from the Department of Economic Opportunity with the Los Angeles County. Next slide, please.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kelly Lobianco, and I'm the Director of the LA County Department of Economic Opportunity. I'm here with my Chief Deputy, Jessica Q. Kim, and we're here to answer any questions at the conclusion. But so grateful for the opportunity to lock arms with our city partners as we support all of our workers, our small businesses, and our communities that have been impacted by the windstorms and wildfires. We know that it will take a collective response, relief effort, and recovery effort, and we're committed to making sure all of our communities come back stronger. I am here today to talk a little bit about the LA Region Small Business and Worker Relief Funds that we launched with the City of Los Angeles and our peers at the Economic and Workforce Development Department. You just heard from General Manager Hull. Very, very excited to have launched these two programs as key relief efforts, because we know that our workers, our small businesses, and our nonprofits are struggling right now and need some capital access to recover. So quickly about these two funds, we have launched the Worker Fund. Applications opened on the 6th of February. And you just heard the mayor say that we did extend applications through March 2nd with grants to go out in our first wave in mid-March. So you have a little bit more time, a little over a week and a half to make sure you get your applications in. On the worker side, if you are a resident of Los Angeles County, 18 years and older, and we're working in the fire evac order and the evac warning zones, and your job or your income were impacted by the event starting in January, you may be eligible to apply for a grant up to $2,000. This applies to all folks who've lost jobs and income. And so we welcome folks who may not have an SSN or ITIN to apply for these funds. We also have launched a small business relief fund. This is focused on small businesses who are in the fire zone, as well as the evac order and warning zones, whose structures were lost, damaged, or you've lost revenue, prioritizing those with the greatest loss. So if you're a small business or a nonprofit that is 6 million or less in revenue with 100 employees or less in size, focused on our small businesses, you may be eligible to apply for a grant anywhere between $2,000 and $25,000. The $25,000 is for those that have lost their structures completely. But we know that there is a range of economic impacts due to the windstorms and the wildfires. These are live and open now, as I mentioned. We're very grateful to our partners because we have trained many of our city and county centers and partners on how to help you apply, so you don't have to do it alone. You can walk into any disaster recovery center and talk to your city colleagues at the Employment and Workforce Development Department or at the Department of Economic Opportunity. We can help you apply for either grant fund on the spot. You can also go to any WorkSource Center or America's Job Center of California, any Family Source Center, and the new impacted worker and family recovery centers that you just heard the mayor talk about today. All of these partners and more are eligible and available to help you apply for these funds from the start to finish. We want to make sure this relief gets into your hands. We are encouraging you to go to laregionfund.lacounty.gov. We'll make sure it's in the chat. That's where you can learn about eligibility, get started on your application, and identify technical assistance providers all across the county that can help you apply to these funds. The Department of Economic Opportunity and the entire County of LA is here for you now and through your full recovery. So please make sure you connect with us and apply for these funds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Really appreciate your partnership. Next up, we have Conway Collis, the CEO of the Los Angeles Mayor's Fund. Conway, can you come onto video and off mute, please? Conway,
There we go.
you're up.
Am I on now? Good.
You're on, yep.
Good. Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Mayor Bass, for bringing all of these resources together, and for also wanting to make sure that people could access these resources wherever they are and whatever their situation. The LA Disaster Release Navigator is really an online extension of the city's impacted worker and family recovery centers for folks that just can't, for whatever reason, easily get into one of the in-person recovery centers. And it's an online resource. You can get to it through lacity.org. And by simply inputting basic information about what is the help that you need, whether it's housing or financial assistance, food, small business documents, childcare, even pet care, You input that, and it provides a personal recovery action plan that lays out all of the resources that are available to you and how to access them and the tips about accessing them on your own. Let me be clear, this is for all fire survivors, regardless of legal status. The only issue is whether you need assistance and to give you help to access that assistance. In fact, over 3,000 people have downloaded their personal recovery action plan since the mayor announced it just under 2 weeks ago. So look, it's always better to go in person because there are caring, knowledgeable people there who are going to help you get signed up. But if you can't or don't want to go in person, the Disaster Relief Navigator is there to help you get those resources online. It's on, and it's there in English, Spanish, and other languages, and it's available to you wherever you are. You can also call the Mayor's Fund We Are LA hotline at 213-584-1804 to get help, again, in English, Spanish, or other languages. And we can direct you to the right place to get help. So we hope that you use the Disaster Relief Navigator. It's available wherever you are.
Thank you very much, Conway. Okay, at this time, I want to recap the fact that we have 4 impacted worker and family recovery centers open here in the city of Los Angeles. You've heard about the resources available, from employment assistance to small business grants to direct cash assistance to help finding housing and social services. And we hope that you'll go, or you'll encourage your neighbors or your fellow community members to attend and to visit the centers or use the navigation tool that Conway just shared about. Again, the centers are open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in 4 different locations throughout the city: West LA, South LA, Northeast Valley, as well as Boyle Heights. You are also welcome to call the hotline at 213-584-1804. So we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions at this point in time. We can go ahead and pull down the slides. We have one question regarding some support for housing. Rosie Kizada says, the Los Angeles website says the following: your landlord must return the prorated rent before the rest of the month, along with your full security deposit. For example, if your home was destroyed on June 10th, your landlord would then return 20 days of rent. Can the resource centers assist with recuperating these funds for tenants whose residents were destroyed? I'm going to go ahead and ask our general manager for the Community Investment for Families Department, Abigail Marquez. Could you please provide an answer to that question?
Sure. Thank you for that question. We will help connect individuals who are seeking this type of relief to our colleagues at the LA Housing Department. This is a claim that needs to be submitted through their hotline, but we will make sure that all of our staff at the recovery centers have information to help facilitate and help connect people to the LA Housing Department. And I'm going to look up the phone number now and leave it in the chat as well while we're online.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that. And those types of questions, certainly you can come into the center and get support. They'll help to guide you and make sure that you get to the right people who can help you with that, as well as provide the phone numbers and help with and assistance on site. We have a number of questions in regards to power. So I'm going to ask for our Department and Water and Power team members to come on video. I think I saw Mr. John Vanacore, who is one of the leaders on power issues in the Palisades. So John, welcome back to the webinars with Mayor Bass's office. We appreciate you being on. If you could come on video, that would be great. We have a question about undergrounding the power lines and clarification around the ongoing situation with distribution lines. This is a question from Jim Schilassi, who's asking specifically about all of the distribution lines not being underground, think there was some confusion in the answer provided. And so we want you to provide the information about the underground and then the temporary poles that are being put up, which is not
Okay.
the permanent plan. But could you provide some insight into the temporary plans for power and the temporary poles, and then contrast that with the long-term plans that are in place for DWP power?
Okay, so thank you for having me on. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So right now, as we sit, we are in the restoration phase. So we are using overhead power poles, and we're placing them in places you normally would not see them. The intent is to do 100% underground system. We are in the process of looking for a location to put a new power station up in the Palisades. That area is substantially underserved for power. We did have some property, but the community is, obviously not wanting it in the location that it was at. So we're in that procurement process, including Tracy Park's office. So we're trying to locate an area. We have started the design for underground, but it is not complete by any means because it depends on where the station is going to be located. But the intent is to go 100% underground to all the homes that are currently in Palisades. Does that
Thank you
answer
so
the
much,
question?
John. That answers the question. I hope
Okay.
that the resident feels like we've been able to adequately answer with a temporary plan, with temporary poles in place, and the long-term plan that's still being planned. But ultimately, the goal and the aim is to underground at that time. Thank you very much.
You got it.
All right. I'm going to ask our partners at Cal OES, Office of Emergency Services, to come on video. I believe that we have one slide that helps provide some details to some additional resources available regarding employment and the emergency hires program that is run through the state of California. I believe that we have a number of folks on from Cal OES, including Assistant Director of Recovery Operations, Eli Owen. Please take it away.
Hi, sorry. So he got pulled into something for the recovery. I'm Danny Yost, support for Legislative and Governmental Affairs at Cal OES. Thank you so much for allowing us some time here. We wanted to make sure people are aware of there are emergency hiring opportunities with the state of California to support the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services. We are here in Pasadena at the Joint Field Office with FEMA. And there are other opportunities as well in the field to assist with the recovery efforts on both fires in this area. So to get information on what is available, we encourage people to go to the state's hiring website, calcareers.ca.gov. And we have a number of opportunities available there. And so if you have any additional questions, please let us know. And there's a number of qualifications that are put on this slide here. Typically, we cannot exceed 9 months in a 12-month period. This is open to both civil servants and non-civil servants, so those who have not previously served in state civil service. And you don't always have to meet the minimum qualifications or take an exam for an emergency hire. So we do encourage folks to sign up and look for opportunities on our website. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the partnership, Cal Careers. For those that may be looking for employment, this is a great opportunity, and we'll make sure to circulate this information in our frequently asked questions document after the webinar as well. Thank you very much. Okay, we have another question in regards to checkpoints. It appears that there's some potential rumors. Bate Banyan Hutter is asking this question. There is talk that checkpoints will be removed before the end of the week, and there will be full access to the Palisades area. Is this accurate? So I wanted to dispel any myths. It is not accurate to say that the checkpoints will be removed. As you know, as Mayor Batts has announced previously, we are fortunate to have the support of the governor of the state of California, the CHP, and the National Guard, and they are providing support to ensure that the checkpoints can remain in place based on requests from Palisades residents specifically to make sure that those checkpoints are in place, as well as ensure that the LAPD will be able to service the entire city and be able to deploy citywide. So that is not accurate to say that the checkpoints will be removed this week. That is something that I just want to bust those myths and make sure that people know that those checkpoints will be remaining in place. I would like to go ahead and ask Colonel Swenson to come back on. We do have a couple of questions in regards to the ongoing debris removal. And a number of folks are asking if the Temescal Canyon routes will be utilized for private debris removal, as well as other questions regarding the private debris removal process. Colonel Swenson, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay,
So,
great. I know that you are not the overseer of all things private debris removal, but you are in some of those conversations around haul routes and planning and making sure that there's clarity between what's happening on the private side as well as the Army Corps side. We have a couple of questions as well around some of the locations in terms of where both the public and the private contractors can go to dump debris. If you could provide any insight in regards to those questions as well, that would be great.
Yeah, so I appreciate the questions. So all the frequently asked questions and the information about the private debris removal program is located at recovery.lacounty.gov on their website. It's the same place that you would go to opt in for a right of entry or opt out of the private property debris removal program. And this is important because commercial property is not included in our program. So all commercial property essentially is an opt-out, is part of the opt-out program. And that information is posted on their website, and they are the experts on the program. I will say from my time in various meetings as we were working out, how to do private property debris removal program, which is the program that's near and dear to my heart. The intent was that all the same rules and all the same landfills and all the same routes that my teams would be using would be the ones that the opt-out contractors or opt-out people or the commercial property people would also be using. I know that there's been some concerns and questions about that, but I would ask any of the callers tonight that have that question to reach out to the county. Again, there's a debris hotline number. I don't have it off the top of my head, but if you go to recovery.lacounty.gov, you can get all of the information about the opt-out program.
Great, thank you so much, Colonel. And then there is another question that you may have some expertise around from Darren Simmons. For those that are trying to get sifting assistance, is there a list of groups who can help? And what are your general recommendations about how people sift through any of the rubble on their properties or any of the materials on their properties before the Army Corps comes? If you've opted in rather to the Army Corps program, people are going to be excited that you're on your way. But at the same time, they may want to do some work on their property ahead of time. So based on your various experience with multiple disasters, as well as knowing about the sifting assistance that may be out there, what is your recommendation to the general public here in the Palisades?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there are a number of agencies, nonprofits that have showed up to this community to help with that exact purpose. I would recommend to a concerned community member that they should reach out to the disaster recovery centers. Those organizations have information booths at the disaster recovery centers. And they can provide them with sort of how do you get access to those resources to provide that service. Of course, I would always caution that you consult your public health department on the risks associated with entering the fire, ash, and debris. There are many of them. Fires, many homes in this community were built sort of in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, and before. A heavy use of nails in wood. The wood will be long gone because of the fire, but those metal nails will persist, and they could be in places that you're not expecting them to be. So obviously there are hazards out there, and I would just caution someone who's going back through to make sure if you've made the personal decision to help with those services and enter the ash footprint, that you just use caution and be aware that there are some risks out there. But the DRC, Disaster Recovery Center, would be the place that I would go for advice on how to get access to those agencies.
Great, thank you so much, Colonel. We have a question here. Well, actually, to follow up on some of your advice, I believe that there is a public health department webinar tonight at 6 in just a few minutes that may also be helpful as it relates to some of the sifting and how to address the debris on your property prior to the Army Corps coming. And I think that we'll be able to go ahead and put that information about the Department of Public Health presentation and community meeting, a virtual community meeting tonight, into the chat as well. I have one question here from Anita Fay in regards to water. So I'm going to ask Jonathan Leong from the Department of Water and Power to come on to answer that question. Jonathan, are you there? All right. Thank you, Jonathan.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The question is from Santa Monica Canyon, Anita Fay. Anita is saying that we have toxic water. Can we get a better understanding of when we'll have safe water? And unfortunately, she's saying that the story map that DWP has put out is missing some info, which I know that I don't think that's a fully ready story map. So if you could provide a little bit of update on both the water testing and the story map itself, Jonathan.
Sure. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So our testing program is well underway. We launched on January 25th with that program, working in conjunction with the state regulator. Palisades areas. 50 samples. We had 14 samples that had low-level detections of benzene over the state drinking water standard. So we followed up and are flushing again and resampling those. I'm pleased to report of the 14, we've resampled 6 locations thus far, and those have come back clear now. So we'll continue to work the issue, and we will restore the system as far as lifting the do not drink as soon as we meet all drinking water standards, and we have the full agreement from the Division of Drinking Water, the state regulator, that we are in a position to lift that. So appreciate everyone's patience. We continue to work hard. We hope to have all the sampling done here in the next 10 days to 14 days.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate that very much. And you can follow along at ladwp.com/Palisades-WQ. And Jonathan, it was a little bit hard to hear, but I think that we understood that in the next couple weeks, we should have all that testing done and be able to provide more clarity to the community about safe drinking water. And the story map itself, when do we think that'll be ready, Jonathan?
Yeah, we were doing some final edits on that. I'm hoping within Thursday or Friday of this week.
Very good. So stay tuned. We should have a story map that provides property by property updates about water, the testing process, or at least region by region updates about the testing and the overall status. So stay tuned for more. We'll announce that story map when it's ready here on Mayor Bass's webinars. And I think we have time for one more question. We'll go ahead and take the question from Amy Rice or Reese, Amy Reese. Amy is asking, how can we possibly be ready to submit plans to rebuild when we don't even know which material will be required to build back more safely or how much they will cost? So what I will say, Amy, is we certainly don't anticipate that everybody's going to be ready to submit plans right away. We hope that you do visit the One Stop Rebuilding Center on Sawtelle, and the various staff members who are there can help you get a better sense of what that rebuilding process looks like, as well as they can share a list of contractors through the Bureau of Contract Administration that may be able to support with your cost estimates and so forth. The One Stop Rebuilding Center is open Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, and should be able to support your needs. With that, I'll ask our team to go ahead and put up the frequently asked questions slide from earlier, and I'll invite the participants from the community to go ahead and use that QR code that's there. We'll also put a link into the chat that links to frequently asked questions. We know that we weren't able to get to everybody's question today, but we did get to quite a number of them. And for those that we weren't able to get to tonight, we certainly aim to get answers to your questions on our frequently asked questions document. I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. For this coming Thursday's session, we do invite you to join us Thursday at 5 p.m. Again, Mayor Karen Bass will be convening a webinar providing general updates about Palisades recovery and rebuilding process. And on Thursday, we will also welcome our assessor for the County of Los Angeles, Jeff Prang. He will be providing an update on property tax assessments. We will also have the sanitation department for the City of Los Angeles provide an update about pool draining and some guidance that we've recently released, since we've received a lot of questions about what to do about your pools. So please do join us right back here on Zoom Thursday, February 20th at 5 p.m. We look forward to seeing you then, and we hope that you have a lovely evening. Thank you so much.